Welcome everyone to episode 110 of Just Joshing. I am your host, Joshua Penteleresco. I write stuff and podcast too, and if I sound tired, because I am tired, it's been a busy week. I've been working on 2 books this week. One of them is actually all finished, just about. The Wandering God is, by and large, edited down. I'm still got to do 1 or 2 small passes through it. But yeah, I'm done a series. My first series has hit its natural conclusion, and I'm really kind of sad, tired, but I'm sad too. I'm sad and I'm happy. I'm sad because I'm never going to tell a story with these characters again. Never say never, but this story is done as far as I'm concerned. So they don't need me anymore, and I got other things I need to write and do, and when I'm through this week, I'm going to feel great about it. But yeah, right this minute, it's sad because for me, like this story that's been in my head for 4 years, this happy accident is over. On the flip side, I'm very happy because, I told a really good story, I think. I told a really, really good story. And it's done. It's done. So that will be available October 17th, courtesy of Mirror World Books. And I, for one, can't wait for you guys to see it. Alright, so that all said, I'm tired, so I'm going to get right into it. The one and only Cassandra Penticoff is next.
You just confused the heck out of me for a second.
No problem. I just did. By the way, both my recorders are on, so anything incriminating you want to say, it'll be recorded. I'm just letting you know up front. So
I'll wait about the dead body until you're not recording anymore. Then.
Okay. Now I want to know the story about the dead body. Indeed, we should start there. How you doing tonight?
Huh?
How you doing?
What was that?
How are you doing tonight?
Oh, I'm doing pretty well. I just got done conducting a live interview a couple hours ago. I got a radio interview early in the morning, and I'm doing this podcast here with you right now.
Yeah.
It's pretty fun.
Yeah, I know. So you're becoming Miss Popular and stuff. So why are you so popular? I just saw you and said you'd sound cool. Let's talk. But So that was my reason for talking to you. So why did everybody else want to talk to you?
Well, I just launched a business called A Novel Connection. We're branding it as the Netflix of books. Readers subscribe to it for $1.99 per month. So that's pretty much why, if you want to call me Miss Popular, that's why that's happened lately, is because of the launch of the business. That just happened, and gosh, the time's going by, 2 weeks ago?
That's awesome. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah. So how's it working out?
Oh, it's been fun. Well, it's been stressful, but it's been fun. I think my favorite part about it is all the people that I've been meeting, including your.
Oh, thank you. Well, nice to meet you, and formally and properly and all that stuff. So, but yeah. So what prompted the business?
Well, good question, actually. I'm an author, fantasy author, and I wrote my first and only book so far. And the first thing I started doing was researching the difference between self-publishing and traditional publishing. I knew that I traditional route because, who doesn't?
Yes.
So I quickly realized, what's that?
I'm with you. I just nodded in agreement.
Okay. So I quickly realized that the way that you get traditionally published, if you don't happen to be lucky and get found, you individually email literary agents. You send them query letter. I thought it was really bizarre. I was just surprised that there wasn't a more fast and efficient way in the world of technology that we live in. I was just surprised that we were using such an outdated system to do that. So for some listeners who might not know about query letters and email querying, basically you have to individually email literary agents a query letter. They all have different requirements, and it's actually a very lengthy process. I don't know if you know anything about it, but it's a very lengthy process, and it usually ends in a lot of rejection letters. So my thought was, I wish that there was just a website where I could upload my book on there, and this was the system that all writers and literary agents used instead of all of this nonsense that seems so outdated. So that's basically where the idea was born. Originally, it was just going to be a website where writers and scouts were connected. But I wanted just to take it a step further. I wanted to include readers in on this because obviously that's what makes an author's success, is the readers. And so it kind of grew into the Netflix of books, what we call it. So readers subscribe to the library for $1.99 per month, and writers submit their books to us, and if they're accepted, they have a good cover, it has to be completed, it has to appear to be professionally edited, needs to be formatted correctly, so that way that we're giving our readers great books. And scouts also, we call them scouts, I'm talking about literary agents and publishers, use our website to find new talent. So essentially what we're trying to do is, we're trying to connect readers, writers, and literary scouts, getting them all on the same page, but we're also trying to shift literary agents and writers from the current system of email querying to a novel connection. Long story long.
Long story long, huh? I like the theory because it makes sense in this sense. We live in a world today where, we're about you're in the West Coast. I'm in Calgary, Alberta, and we're just talking like nothing, right? So it makes sense.
One more time.
Okay. This is definitely going to be the elderly podcast. That's what I'm going to call this one. But no, what I'm basically saying is that you're in the West Coast. I'm in Calgary. And we're chatting like it's no big deal. Like it's just a commonplace thing now. And
Exactly.
and because of that, I mean, also just media advents like Instagram, Twitter, and just the fact that there are other databases out there in some form or fashion, it almost makes sense that there would be a system in place where even if you don't get picked up, where people can display their books in like a large enough database. The challenge you face, the challenge you face is getting people where your database exists.
Yes.
Yes. Just a simple yes. Long answer. So I imagine that's where your stress is mostly. You're like, hey, I got this great database, and people are like, I don't know what this is. What am I supposed to do with it? And then you have to go through that.
Totally. You are nailing it right on the head. Everybody who they always have to be explained exactly what it is because this doesn't exist. So you're totally right. I spend a lot of time explaining to people what we. Now, for readers, it's pretty self-explanatory. If I say the Netflix of books, they pretty much get it. It's a library of books that they subscribe to.
Yeah.
So for that, but when it comes to the writers and the scouts, you're exactly right. It's totally new. It doesn't exist, and so getting it out there and people understanding what it is, it has been the biggest struggle.
It's like you're selling library cards. It's actually what you're kind of doing. I mean, I know
Yes.
that might sound a little silly, but it's the truth. It's like, here's your library card, and you can look up all these cool people, and new people come in all the time, and that's what you're trying to do. Well, good luck. I sincerely wish you the best. I get it. It's something that I think that needs to be done, and who knows? Maybe I'll talk to you in about 2 or 3 months. When my book will be all professionally polished and stuff, and I'll be like, hey, would this appeal to you? And you'll be like,
Oh, so you are an author.
I am an author, yes.
I was wondering. I was going to ask you. That's awesome.
Yeah, I write everything, and I mean everything. My case is like this. Currently, I have 2 books of epic poetry published. One's called The Watcher. It's about a slave boy who kills his dragon masters and goes into a post-apocalyptic wasteland, discovering that there's more to life than being a slave. And he also has a sequel, Storm Dancer. And in the fall, The Wandering God comes out, which is the last book in the series, in October. And I have another series that I'm starting called The Cloud Diver, which is basically, it's Indiana Jones meets The Matrix.
Oh, that sounds interesting.
Yes. So here's the cliff. Here's the concept. The cloud today is our history tomorrow.
Ooh.
Make sense?
Yes.
So
I like it.
You're like, I want to buy it, and I didn't even get to the part with the unicorn. I didn't even get to the parts with the unicorns parting rainbows, zombie mobsters, and dragons yet. But well, okay. So here's the thing, right? And this is what you have to understand. The cloud stores everything, and I mean everything. And if you look at like 50 years from now, when people look back to this time, some of the biggest things we have are bots that encourage us to buy shit. Like, honestly. Like, we have... Yeah, right? So I'm like... And everything and anything you can possibly imagine would be in this thing. And my sister requested that I put a unicorn that parts rainbows in this story. And then she promised me not to kill it. So, she's like, I know! It's okay, I came up with something really cool. And he talks in wingdings, by the way.
Say that one more time.
He talks in wingdings, by the way.
He talks in wingdings?
That's right. That's right.
Oh, I remember that font.
Yeah, well, it makes sense. There's not really a good font on the keyboard for emojis yet, but that's okay. It actually works out in the long run, but I digress. But yeah, I write stuff all the time, and they're all big, wild, imaginative stuff, and I have a blast doing it. I've been, believe it or not, The Watcher, Storm Dancer, and The Wandering God are traditionally published. The Cloud Diver is independently published. So,
okay. Who's your who you published through?
Mirror World Books. They are a very small press based out of Windsor, Ontario, Canada. I interviewed. This is one of the reasons I still do interviews. You never know who you meet, and I interviewed this woman who was working on her own book stuff in Windsor, and then I decided that I was going to finally get back really into writing again, and I accidentally wrote The Watcher. And then I put it on Smashwords way back in the day. It's a crappy version, but I put it on Smashwords. And she reads it and goes, so what's your plan with this? I told her my plan was basically to sell it at cons and make money and put people to the ebook. She goes, I'll publish it for you. Okay, done.
You're like, alright.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Have you seen success? Are you happy with...
I've grown quite a bit in the last 4 years. I've done this podcast. I've been interviewing people for a long time. In terms of connections, I've done a pretty good job for myself. Considering that I'm an independent writer that does poetry, I have 3,000 followers on Twitter. I have a podcast that regularly hits 100 and 150 plays a week. I have... I don't suck. And this is not bad considering that I'm not really a big guy. You know what I mean? I just shoot my mouth off, and it just seems to work. And and the thing about that is, so the third book's the last one in that series. It made sense to go with Mirror World there. I don't know about the future though. I have more reach in some ways than they do, which I'm not sure as a writer going for a publisher, I do that. on the flip side, they've been good to me too. I can't say that, but you know what I mean? I'm in a really interesting spot. I'm big enough to my own connections that I can reach a lot of people on my own.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? And most of the stuff that they've done, I can do myself. You know what I mean? So it's one of those things where it's one of those things where it just. I'm not sure. I'm not against the idea. Again, they're good people. They really are. It's just.
Yeah. That's what I've heard a lot, though, about ever since I've been connecting with other indie authors. That's kind of what I've heard a lot with the small publishers, is that sometimes they question whether or not it's worth it because they want to be a part of support publishers, and they're all for that, but exactly what you said, they're not really doing anything that you can't go do yourself.
It's an interesting spot to be in because it's one of those things where I look at it and I'm not, again, this isn't a knock to them at all. They're building and they're establishing themselves, but it's when I can go. Hold on, just real quick here. So I want.
Say that one more time.
Just hold on real quick here. So I look at the fact that, okay, I have 3,000 followers on Twitter. My publisher has not even a fifth of that, or barely a fifth of that.
Oh.
See where I'm at. See where I'm thinking. Like, this is just me just asking questions, right?
Yeah.
I'm not. Again, I go out of my way to promote my stuff. But that's part of the game too. Is you have to know how to hustle. And if you don't know how to hustle, so sales is a swear word people don't like. The thing is, really, what a sale is answering 3 questions. Who you are, what you offer, why people should care. And you have to, as an author, make peace with that you are whoever you are, right? You are going to offer a product, in your case, whether it's your book or whether it's One Novel Connection. And then your job, and this has been your job for the last 2 weeks, is you have to explain to people why people care.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And that's it. And the thing is, every author has to face that. Every one of them. Right? Who are you? What do you offer? Why should I care? And you have to be comfortable doing that in front of the face of strangers who really, at this moment, don't care about your book. That's a reality of the business. Okay. And you have to have the confidence to go up there and go, my book is awesome and made of cheese. Well, maybe not necessarily made of cheese, but my book is awesome, and this is why it's awesome. And you got to be confident enough to say that this book is great. I can honestly say that my book, The Watcher and Storm Dancer, there's nothing like that, nothing like those books anywhere that I've seen. Which is
it sounds good.
Yeah. Right, I can honestly say that, and it would be. I'm
super interested. It's just poetry.
It's epic. It's an epic poetry story. It's nothing like you've ever read.
That is so cool.
And it's also got illustrations in there, so it's actually a lot like a graphic novel. So wait, am I selling you my books, or are you selling me?
Yeah, no, that sounds like super unique. Like, I really hope that you submit some of your work someday. That sounds so interesting. I actually love poetry, and I've always wished that I was better at writing poetry, but I'm really not that great at it. I really enjoy reading it.
Can I be honest with you? When I got into poetry, I hated it. Like, I hated it big time. Because it was just it's simplistic to me. Is what it seemed like when I first got into it. And also, I don't really like rules. I just don't. So I just tend to. I tend to make. I forge my own path. I find this is just what I am. I will go my way, and people will either come with me and enjoy it, or they won't. either way, I'm going to have fun, right? So
You're almost like, the way that you're explaining your writing, it's like you're almost like the modern day Shakespeare.
are you trying to butter me up? Because it's not bad.
Oh my, that sounds so cool. You should use that, and you better give me credit for it.
Oh, okay. Personally, I try to go for Dr. Seuss because I think Seuss is brilliant. But
Ooh.
yeah, see, Dr. Seuss.
And is it adult? I mean, I'm assuming it's like geared towards adults.
The poetry books actually could be geared to kids, like young adults to adult, like both. Cloud Diver is a little bit more adult. There are some scenes I wouldn't be comfortable letting a 10-year-old read. I just wouldn't. I wouldn't do it. Because but that all said, Watcher, assuming you're okay with a touch of profanity, you could probably, a 10, 11, 12-year-old can read that no problem. It's very reminiscent of, right? It's like me doing Follow Man meets Tarzan, and that's kind of what it is. And yeah. So when this is over, I'll give you the wonderful Amazon link to it, so you can actually read what other people have said, and you can go, hey, this is awesome, or not my thing. Either way, it's cool with me. But yeah, it's just. But like,
no, I totally. Like, got to give me the link to the podcast too.
I did.
Oh, you did? Is it in my messages?
Yes, it is.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Shows how much I pay attention.
Yeah, see that. Okay. So she's on a podcast she doesn't know much about, ladies and gentlemen. I feel a little teared up. It's okay. I'll live.
Oh, that sounds bad.
I know it does. I understand you got a lot on your plate. Like, you really do. And that happens. But I gotta go back to you because, see, I can talk about me all day. As you see, I'm good at it.
Yeah. Maybe a little too good.
Maybe.
I like it though.
Well, it's, again, this goes back to like what we talked about here. This is about, like, we are in an age where a writer no longer can afford to be shy. Exactly. We're all somewhat introverted to some degree. Like, I after being around people for a while, I need a break. But
Yep.
but the fact is, I can't afford to be shy. It's like me deciding to going after a pretty girl. If I'm going to be all shy and bashful, I better be the sexiest thing in the place, because that's the only way she's going to pay attention. Otherwise, I have to show up. Introduce myself, be confident, make eye contact, and
Absolutely. Confidence is key.
Absolutely. And the thing is, we live in an era now that there's a zillion books out there. This is the downside of being an author today, is there's a lot of books. But how do we stand out? And that's to be ourselves. Right? So if you don't have...
There's so many, gosh, I mean, and by the way, I think that one of the problems is that a lot of readers don't know about indie authors. They don't even know how big that community is. I mean, before I started writing my first book, where I was serious about writing it and wanting to publish it, I did not expect the competition to be so great. I figured that I was one of few who was out there self-publishing, because I just didn't even know that they existed. And then I started, I mean, you kind of, the way that I was writing my book is I kind of envisioned, me finishing my book, me publishing it, and within a year I'd be the next J.K. Rowling, and then I got reality slapped in my face real quick.
J.K. Rowling wasn't J.K. Rowling after her first book either. It took a few. And
really, I didn't actually. I thought. Do
you want to hear that? Do you want to hear that story? I actually know that story. So
I would love to hear the story.
So her books did good. Don't get me wrong. Her books always did well, but they're not like they weren't.
They weren't Harry Potter.
They weren't Harry. Well, they are, but they weren't yet. So during her first 2 books, she got a movie deal from Warner Brothers. And Warner Brothers...
Oh, you mean the first 2 Harry Potter books. So
yeah.
These were her first...
Yeah, they were her first books, but they were good, they were popular, but they didn't blow up, right? Not right away. It was a momentum thing. And a lot of other things working out in her favor as well. But, I mean, when she was going through that, I mean, her success... Warner Brothers was going to put a bunch of her books together in one film. Not what we got, but like in one film. And
whoa,
oh yeah, and she was going to have. Well, think of it this way: Christopher Paolini did very well with Aragon, but even he had to kind of swallow some things with Hollywood. I'm sure he looks at those movies and go, think of the checks you got. Think of the checks you got. Right? So I mean, that's what he has to do, right? So book 3 comes out, and it blows up. That's when she really blows up. It was her 3rd book. It just skyrocketed beyond anybody's wildest dreams. To the point that she didn't need Hollywood anymore. So she was able to go to Warner Brothers and just give them a number. And that number was so astronomically big, rest is history.
Wow.
Yeah, there's a little bit more to that story, but that's the gist of it, right? So.
And wasn't she turned down like 12 times?
Oh, absolutely.
For Harry Potter?
Yeah, absolutely.
I would hate to be those publishers right now.
See, I'm torn on that. Here's why I'm torn on that. Not every publisher is a good fit for you, right?
I can see that. Yeah.
Yeah,
so this might not have done as well with them.
Yeah. So no. This is that kind of success you can't plan for, right? And her series had to find, like, the right people had to be there at the right place at the right time to push it, right? Because traditional publishing and indie publishing is similar in one sense. But the cheerleading is involved in each book that goes out there, right? Somewhere, wherever it may go. Whether Simon & Schuster pushes your book or whether you do, it's up to you to reach out to these people and go, hey, this book is awesome, and here's why it's awesome, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's a big part of the game, right? So the only difference is a traditional publisher has an army, whereas you're just one. It can be done, but you got a lot more work in front of you. So,
yeah.
But the thing I'm getting to with this is, right? She had the right people cheerleading at the right places at the right times, and her books were good. And that's all it took.
That is very interesting.
Yeah.
I heard also that that the only book that has sold more copies than Harry Potter is the Bible.
Pretty much. And Bible's gonna have that for like ever, so it's all good.
Oh.
Well, the Bible's somewhere in like the hundreds of millions or billions. Like it's like the number of copies of the Bible sold is just such a high number. Any author gets to that point, even close, right? You got nothing to be ashamed of at all. Like, nothing.
Yeah. I feel like the devil would curse you if you sold more copies than the Bible.
Maybe. It's entirely depends which version of the Bible, I guess, you have too. But I don't know. It's just it's. I mean the fact of the matter is, like I say, it's one of those you can't plan those moments kind of deals, and good for her. I mean, I will be very happy carving my niche of wonders and miracles and stuff in a corner, and if enough people like it, that'd be good to buy groceries. I'd be very happy with that, and that sounds like again, I'm not. Hey, I'm all for making $1 million doing this. I think I can make $1 million doing this. I'd be content if I don't have to have a day job anymore. I'd be like, I'd be good with that.
Absolutely. And that's what you just said. exactly what I'm trying to do with a novel connection. In the future, one of the things that we plan to do is something very, very different and unique. Is we want to hire writers to write their books for our library, so then they would become exclusive ANC writers, and they would write their books, but we would actually pay them per hour to write their books for us, because you see, we don't sell books, so we can't give them sales, or we can't give them a portion of the sales, So we would be paying them starting out at $15 per hour to write their books for us. And the whole point of that is because you have starving writers, and then you have the extremely successful authors like J.K. Rowling, Stephen King, people like that. And I think that in the middle of there is where most of us really want to be, where exactly what you just said, where you can quit your day job. That's where most of us, we would love to be millionaires. Most of us would just be so happy being able to just make a decent living off of writing, and there's not very many people in the middle there. And that's what we're trying to do, is we're trying to expand that middle ground to make more room for indie writers. We're trying to make indie books mainstream. We want to get the word out there to readers, and we knew that in order to do that, we had to give readers good books, because here's the thing, is that there are other writing platforms out there, and those writing platforms are important and they're wonderful. The only problem with those is that it doesn't really attract a lot of readers outside the indie book community, because you have to wait, you kind of have to weed through all of the partial work, the unedited work. Most of those websites, you can post a paragraph from your book, you can post half your book, a chapter, whatever, and that's not really what readers are looking for a lot of the time. Although I'm sure that we would like to believe that readers are out to just help indie authors. That's really not the reality of it. They're just looking for a good book to read. So that's why we made the requirements of the book needing to be completed and edited and formatted properly and ready to publish, is how we put it, is that the book needs to be ready to publish. Because if we're not giving the readers great books, then it's not really going to attract a whole lot of readers.
And that's definitely a part of the challenge, is quality control, which is definitely a interesting spot to find yourself in. Like I said, I wish you the best of luck. That sounds like that part in particular sounds like it's going to be too much like work.
Yeah. It's all fun. It's all so much fun.
That's right. And by fun, you mean in a Lucky Flask kind of way in the corner there, just while you read some of the stuff you read, you go, oh God. And some of it will be like, I think this is some of the most amazing stuff I've ever read. This is awesome, and you feel good about life. And then there's some stuff you read, and how, why, what is this?
Yeah.
Why did you send this to me? Well, I'm weeping.
Yeah, I sure won't give any examples. But
no, don't do that, because you want people to come back, and just because they're bad today doesn't mean they're going to be bad tomorrow. I speak from experience. You want to be nurturing and encouraging, but every once in a while you do read something that makes you weep a little bit.
Mm-hmm. And luckily that hasn't happened. To be honest, one of the things that I was worried about is having to reject a lot of books, a lot of authors, but I've actually only had to, and I don't call them rejecting, I call it asking for resubmission when it meets the ready-to-publish standards. But it's only been a few that I've had to, that I have not accepted. So that's been a pleasant surprise. A lot of the writers who have submitted to me have been, very professional, have great books. And another thing is that I don't judge the writing exactly. And the reason why is because just because I am not maybe interested in the way that somebody writes does not mean that all readers are not going to be interested in it. So that's probably one of the main questions that I get from writers, is them asking me, what kind of writing style I'm looking for or something. And that I'm not looking for a particular writing style, because I'm not the one, this isn't for me, this is for the readers. And so I just judge it based off of more of the technicalities.
Fair enough. So what books that are coming up are you really happy that you've seen?
Well, I just actually, a new book that's coming in tomorrow in the Kitty Connection, so the children's portion of the library, is a really intriguing book. It's called I hope I'm pronouncing it right, Luz's Paintbrush, How You Created the Universe. And it's very eccentric and kind of hippie-like. All the illustrations, it looks like something from the 60s, but it's a children's book, and it's super intriguing. That's the main one that stood out to me this week.
Ooh, cool. So, in that case, we probably should get to the point where we talk about your writing. So, we talked earlier. Who are you? Mm-hmm. What do you offer, and why should I care? So, come on, pitch me.
Absolutely. So, my pen name is C. Penticoff, and it's very interesting because I am a very spiritual person, but I don't talk about my spirituality very much. It's very personal to me, but for some reason, when I write, it just comes out of me, and I don't know why, but my spirituality really inspires me, and I don't know how. You seem like you're around my age. I'm 28. But I've noticed that in our generation, a lot of people really struggle with spirituality. In the generations above us, spirituality usually is one thing. You're supposed to fit into one mold of what you believe, how you believe, and how you practice that belief if you choose to practice it. But for me, I've always been really unique in that I grew up in a very religious family, but I always kind of felt like the black sheep because I always had my own way of thinking and believing. So in my book, which is fantasy, by the way, a fantasy book, I wanted to give people a progressive approach to spirituality while captivating them in a awesome fantasy. So, and what I think is very unique about my book is the fact that there is a direct spiritual message in a fantasy book. It's not something that you see very often. And I think the reason why is because usually spirituality is directly, associated with religion, and religion and magic are kind of arch nemesis. So, I've never been one to, I've always been one to break the mold, march to the beat of my own drum. So it takes place in a spiritually enlightening and magic land. And that's what sets my book apart from other books.
I see. So, then can I ask a sophisticated question?
You absolutely can.
Okay, so I'm going to ask about your book, and we'll get into the spiritual stuff a bit. So, I get your theme. What's your story?
Yes, so the story is about a 20-year-old girl named June, who appears to be very confident. She's very outgoing, easy to get along with, has a big sense of humor, but actually on the inside, she struggles with anxiety and depression very bad, so much that it's very crippling for her. She has a twin sister named January who were, when they became teenagers, they became pretty much enemies. Well, one day, without getting into too many details or giving too many things away, her sister's existence is erased entirely. And she has to travel to a land called Folklaria to go rescue her. So the story, and this is a series, by the way, this is the Chronicles of Folklaria. So we're talking about the first book, which is Folklaria and the Wicked Sorcerer. The story is about June going through Folklaria, on her journey to go save her twin sister.
Okay. Sounds cool. Chronicles of Fork Warrior, Book 1. So, alright. So, for me, I'm a little older than you, but I'm only in age, not in maturity. I'm 35, and
Okay, yeah, too much.
Yeah, 35 years old. I grew up right at the end of the charismatic movement with Christianity back in the 80s. I had the fortune of moving around a ton. I've gotten to see a lot of different things out there. Now, personally, I believe in God. I've seen too much to deny that would be silly to me. But I look at everybody else too a little differently too. I used to be a lot more condemning, and now I'm more like, you know what? I don't worry about where you come from or what you are. I only care about really one thing: who you are. What are you trying to do? If I can help you, great. If I can't, that's it. I mean, that's it. Everything else, I certainly do not. I do not know. I do not know who truly makes it to heaven or hell. I mean, I really don't have an answer to that question, because we all. I mean, again, we all fall short. I certainly have my own flaws, and I certainly I can look at people and I can see where people maybe I think are going down the wrong path. But that all said, too, it's not my place to go, you're necessarily going down the wrong path unless they ask me. Then I'll tell them my opinion. But
yeah, exactly.
But beyond that, I mean, I know people who practice. I know people who believe, who are atheists, who are hardcore atheists. I know people who are agnostic. I know who are Buddhists, Muslim. You know what? I have learned in this life that basically everybody is pretty much the same. They all want to be happy. They all want to be loved by people that matter to them. And everything else just really doesn't matter.
Totally. That reminds me of a quote from Macklemore.
Yeah.
He says, "No matter what God you believe in, we all come from the same one."
Yeah.
And I thought that was so powerful, because it's so true. No matter what you believe, we all do come from the same God.
Yeah.
No matter what. And so, in reality, what you think God is, what you believe God is, or where God is, or how he came to be, or if it's a he at all, no matter what you believe about it, what's most important is, on a personal level, is your connection with God or the universe or whatever it is. And some people don't have that connection at all, like you mentioned, atheists. I feel like when it comes down to it, as long as you are kind and compassionate, I feel like that's what's the most important thing in life.
Well, beyond okay, so I biblically speaking, Jesus was asked what are the things?
Yes.
So believe in God, honor thy neighbor, love thy brother. That's it. You can break the whole Bible down to those three specific things. Honor thy neighbor. I've always interpreted it as, you know what, it also includes people that don't believe what you believe.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I mean, that's a big one. So, and also sometimes what I have found, this is as I get older, I have found this. Sometimes the people that act the best, or some of the nicest and best people I know are the hardcore atheists. They show the most compassion, which I think is an amazing thing. And then for me, I have a hard time with love thy brother. Like that one in particular is really hard for me, because I find that a lot of people will talk and try to be righteous and whatever, and I will then watch those same people do terrible things, and then I will think to myself, I somehow feel that righteous and what you just did don't go together. Now, I'm not perfect either, but I don't go out of my way and say I'm better than you, or I'm this righteous person. And I completely admit I'm a fuck up. I'm good. I'm good with that, right? So,
I'm right there.
yeah, it's like I don't know. Like, there's a lot I don't know, but at this point, I don't worry about a lot of things. I'm just like, you know what? If you believe that the Earth is flat, cool. Are you hurting anybody?
Oh,
Hey, listen, listen. It really doesn't matter at the end of the day. I look at it like this: are you hurting anybody? No.
Yeah.
Cool.
Cool. We're good.
Yeah, we're good. I don't care. I don't have time. I just don't have time. Does that make sense to you?
Exactly. Oh, totally. We're on the same page with that completely. Yeah, people, it's like, do you, boo. As long as you are a good person and, like you said, not hurting anybody, believe and do whatever makes you happy.
Oh, don't quite go that far, but I would go more along lines of, you know what? It's not my concern. Like, I go like, you know what? Yeah, are you good? Good. That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't even know. You know what? I'm not even gonna go there. It's like, no. I look. Like I said, I don't think anybody has it fully right. I think that's part of the struggle. Is none of us do. I think it's about learning, and that's why we're here.
Absolutely.
So on that note, I think we have a podcast interview. So I want to get to the part where we talk about the buried body. So, So, how can people find you? What are you doing? Like where we can find One Novel Connection, and how can people find you?
Yeah. Well, of course, people can find a Novel Connection at anovelconnection.com. That's where people, if they want to subscribe to either our Reader Connection or our Kitty Connect, www.novelconnection.com. If you're a writer and you want to submit to us, if it's young adult or adult, you go to www.novelconnection.com/submissions. Children's books is novelconnection.com/submissionschildren. You can find us on Facebook, facebook.com/anovelconnection. Twitter is anovelcon. They wouldn't let me do the whole thing. Instagram, my handle is anovelconnection.
Okay. How about you personally?
And YouTube. I'm very new to the YouTube.
Are you
by
doing
the way, but I've just started with it. I forced myself. I'm very super comfortable on camera. I'm just not, I've just never had a channel before until the last couple weeks. So I'm learning. But yeah, Novel Connection on YouTube as well.
Cool. So how about you personally? Or is it just Novel Connection at this point?
Oh, yeah. Well, I guess I'm important here too, huh?
Kind of.
Facebook.com/author C. Penticoff. I'm also on Twitter as C. Penticoff and Instagram as C. Penticoff Author. And I'm working on getting a website. I plan to have that by September. But so far, I'm just on the social media sites when it comes to me as an author.
And that is cool. All right. Thank you, Cassandra, for your time. Cassandra's business, A Novel Connection. Check out the end of the links. But I'm also going to make a point here to mention her book, Folklaria and the Wicked Sorcerer, which is her first book in her fantasy series. You should check that out, too. You can get that on Amazon or wherever electronic books are sold. That will do it for another episode. Just Josh, as you see, this is a very bare bones kind of episode this week because I am beat. I need to sleep 1,000 winks and need to do 1,000 other different things as well. But yeah, I'm going to chill. So if you want to help and support the podcast, you can do this a couple different ways. You can subscribe to it either through Podomatic or through iTunes. You can go one or the other. You can buy my books, The Watcher, Storm Dancer, and coming soon, The Wandering God, all courtesy of Mirrorworld Books. Just go to mirrorworldbooks.com for more details on The Wandering God, but you can also go to Amazon right this minute if you want to get The Watcher or Storm Dancer. You can subscribe to my YouTube channel, Joshua Pantelleresco, Pantalleresco is the last name, Joshua is the first. You can hear past episodes there, and cool things are going to be coming down the pike there as well. You can also sign up for my newsletter, tinyletter.com/jpantelleresco. Yeah, that's pretty much it. And that'll do it for another episode. Stay inspired out there. Don't do anything I wouldn't do, or don't get caught, or at the very least have an alibi. Okay? Okay. All right. Have a good one.
Josh. Shush.